Hello, hello, and welcome back to Off Limits podcast. I'm Ellen, host of Elle Daily. Here we celebrate the unique and beautiful differences between men and women. And here, nothing is off limits. We'll talk about it all, especially when it comes to understanding how those differences bring us together, even when they drive us a little crazy. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, yes, my face is extra shiny today. I will say I just did a chemical peel a couple days ago, and I am rocking a layer of tea tree oil and no makeup. Why? I thought, you know what? I'm still going to go on camera because showing up, even when it's not perfect, is a small gesture that matters. So let this be your reminder that it's not about being flawless, it's about being present. And if this shine distracts you a little bit, the redness, well, you can always just close your eyes and listen. And maybe to balance things out, hit the like button. Speaking of which, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite small gesture to show someone you care, or what is one of your favorites to receive? All right, let's jump into today's topic, small gestures. They're the little things that might not seem like a big deal, but trust me, they are everything. They're the foundation of how we connect, lead, and show up for the people in our lives. And here's the thing, this isn't just for the guys or the ladies, it's for all of us. Whether you're looking to be more thoughtful or be a more thoughtful partner, a better friend, or even a stronger leader, small gestures are what make the difference. So stick with me. We're breaking down why these little things matter so much, how they start with you, really starting with your self awareness and going within, and how they ripple out to everyone around you in a good way. Let's jump in. So, the power of small gestures. I want to start with the basics. And the small gestures really aren't these grand, romantic, or extravagant gifts. I mean, those are great, but it's really more about the thoughtful little things that say, I see you, I value you. Like holding the door open, putting your phone away before dinner or when somebody arrives, you're in your present space with them, showing them that you are alert and happy to be there, sending even like a thinking of you text. Those are those small little moments that show care, respect, and attentiveness. And it's not just those romantic relationships where this is super important. This applies again to coworkers, friends, family, because you know what? Let's be real. Everyone wants to feel valued and appreciated. Absolutely. So I want to talk about what's off limits. So, what's off limits is treating these gestures like they just don't matter or they're just an option. So, we'll kind of go through and we'll say what is off limits, like just let's just not do it, right? So, if you're making an effort to show up in small ways, or I'm sorry, if you're making an effort to show up in small ways, amazing, great. And if you're not, you're missing the big picture. So here's why I wanted to start with something a little deeper. Let's go one step deeper and look at the foundations of where this really comes from. So small gestures are not just about what we do for others. Yes, that's so important, but you have to start with yourself. So they really start with how we show up for ourselves. And this is what I mean. You'll see where I'm going with this. So here's the thing. If you're constantly focused on yourself, worrying about how you're being perceived, maybe you're stuck in your head. I know I tend to do that if I'm presenting and I get more nervous that way. If I start to really think about the audience, my clients, what their needs are, and not really going with how they're perceiving me, but what are their needs, I do so much better. So bear with me. You're going to see where I'm going. So yeah, here's the thing. If your energy is self centered, you're less empathetic, you're less engaged, and ultimately less thoughtful. But when you shift your focus outward, so to the people around you, their needs, their experiences, something magical and incredible really happens. You connect on a deeper level. You can really see what they're needing. And those small gestures will absolutely come naturally because you're aware of how you're showing up. So I'm going to keep going with this. So hear me out and let me know if you have an example. So it all starts with our mindset. When you're aligned with a purpose bigger than ourselves or yourselves, your energy shifts. You're more present, you're more positive, and people can feel that. They absolutely, it's like they get that sense of this person really cares. They're authentically real. And that's why someone like Tony Robbins, for example, I love Tony Robbins. Most of you probably know who he is. But if you think about his energy, he'll have like a 4-day course and he can absolutely transform lives in just a few days. And it's because of his ability to show that he truly cares about people and he has a bigger purpose and his purpose is them. And he shows such excitement that these immersive programs help people retrain their brains to focus on what matters most. That's really what he does in these, and there's studies about it. So I won't go into all of it. I'll do a high level of this, but the studies back it up. These studies are showing that the participants in personal development programs such as his see improvements even in depression and anxiety that surpass traditional treatments like antidepressants. It's amazing. The research is fascinating, but it's because he's helping them to find a purpose other than themselves. So, why again does this work? Because it helps them tap into a sense of purpose, connection, not just with themselves, right? And it's the people around them. So that's what we're talking about here. The more you're focused on being intentional, the more your gestures become thoughtful, authentic, and meaningful. So, really, these practical small gestures that we can start for ourselves on a daily basis. And my Elle Daily theme is all about what can we do on a daily basis to inspire and elevate others' lives or our lives, especially, but others around us. So, here's what we're going to start with just for ourselves on a daily basis. Find a morning routine that works for you, something that makes you joyous in the morning. So, you get out of bed with the right foot. You know how they say, oh, did you get on the wrong side of bed today? Make sure that every day you're getting out of the right side because it starts with your energy, your mindset. So I have an absolute routine that works well for me. I'll give you a couple tips of what I do. I mean, my first one really starts with making a morning cup of coffee. I'll do some morning meditation, reading, journaling, a lot more that I do, but it's as simple as getting up and moving, even if it's just a quick walk or a stretch. Practicing gratitude is huge. I've got my gratitude journal. So those are the things that work for me. Find out what works for you, what inspires you, what elevates your morning. Maybe you don't have as much time if you're a busy mom or dad, but make sure you have a little bit of you time to start the day right. These small intentional actions help you stay disciplined and focused. And over time, they reprogram your mind to operate from a place of a positive mindset, positivity, and purpose. That's the key here. So let me tell you what's off limits here, though. So, what you wouldn't want to do, neglect yourself. Please avoid that at all costs. I know there's some days we do, but if you do, jump back on the bandwagon the next day. When you're not taking care of your mind, body, and energy, you're not just letting yourself down, you're letting the people around you down too. If you don't have, it's like the whole philosophy about if you're drinking from a half, I don't know that saying. You know where I'm going with that. Make sure that you have a full tank of gas because you got to take care of yourself. So here we go. Let's go into the ripple effect of how showing up for others, for yourself and for others can really make things magical. So the magic here is when you show up for yourself, it's not just about you. The energy that radiates to the people around you is what's key. So it's the difference between walking into a room feeling drained versus feeling motivated and alive. And that is why Tony Robbins, think about a 12-hour session with him. He is just charged up. He's giving the right motivational music and speaking. So really, in the whole scheme of things, there are these small gestures that are charging people up. And for you, giving these small gestures, like giving someone a genuine compliment or putting your phone away during dinner, it makes them feel good. It makes them feel like, oh, wow, they really do want to be here for me. And this is showing that you come from a place of alignment and intentional and or intention, and you're being authentic. That authenticity shows. So, what's off limits here? Acting like your energy doesn't matter. If you're walking around as a storm cloud or you're just like, you ever see people like that? They walk into a room and it looks like the whole world fell apart and you're like, what's going on? It's even just they throw something down or their actions or yeah, that's when people start avoiding you. Don't be surprised if people are like, I'm going to avoid that person. Their energy is just it's really when you are bringing the sunshine, that's what's contagious. That's when people are like, yep, I'm going to show up for that person. I like to be around them. So here's a few other things that let's talk about annoying gestures. And why I bring these up is I think in general, I can be pretty good about this, or I start to spot things of like, oh, I got to remember to not do that because it becomes a pet peeve. And I find most of them are in the airport. And I'd love to hear what your pet peeves are, or gestures that people do that you're like, oh, that's just off limits. Don't do it, people. So public spaces. Here we go. Let's have fun with this because this is where some of the most off limits gestures happen. And you know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about this one. Rushing onto the elevator tram or tram, I should say. This happens all the time in the airport. You know, people have got their suitcases, and before I can even get off, they're charging in. And I'm like, before people even have a chance to get off. So I'm like, seriously, where are you going? We got to get off before you can get on. So let people exit before you shove your way in, right? Or what about standing way too close to the baggage claim? This is another one. Like everybody moves up to the baggage claim as soon as they start coming. But you're like, hey, you know what? If you back up a little ways, everybody behind you could see the luggage. So I know that sounds so simple, but it just blows my mind how many people don't think about that small gesture, right? So, and let's also not forget about the person who sprawls across all the seats on the gate, you know, tossing their bag, jacket, snacks around like it's like their little personal lounge. I mean, we've probably all been there at a time or two. And I find myself like, there has been a time where I'll sit at the restaurant bar. I like to be at the bar so I can visit with people. And I've noticed like I have my little desk there. It's like my computer's here, my journal, my calendar. And I'll have to kind of, when somebody's coming in, I like to make that gesture of, oh, here, let me give you some more room. It's like those common little thoughts. Or what's the other one that I really love when people notice this? If you get to a restaurant and you are at the bar and folks will be like, oh, hey, I can move over so you can sit here because there's those spaces, right? That is such a nice gesture. That's one of my favorite gestures when somebody is aware, like, oh, there's somebody new coming in. So let me know what some of yours are. I'd love to hear them. But again, these are the moments where it's clear someone might not be reading the room if they're rushing into the elevator or the tram, or they're not sliding over to make room for somebody else. It's these gestures. I know it's maybe not even intentional, but the point is when you're so focused on yourself, whether it's getting to your connecting flight or snagging your bag first, you miss the opportunity to be considerate. And that's really what this is about. It's like if you were to put others ahead or to think like, oh, you know what? Maybe they'd like to get off the elevator before I get on. Or, you know what? The bags are coming. Maybe we all stand back a little further. And when our bag shows up, you'll walk up there and grab it. There's so much time, right? I think we all are so rushed, go, 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 because we're thinking about the next step. So if we all take a little more time to be intentional, read the room, it's so much better. So it's better for everyone. So it really is treating these public spaces, um, like everybody's domain, and you're really allowing. I guess it's a less stressful situation for everyone. Okay, so let's get on to the next topic, the don't compete compliment. So a lot of times we do like to compete, right? But here's another one. Stop competing and start complimenting. It's a really nice shift. So we've all been there. You know, you're telling a story about your bad day, and the other person jumps in like, oh, well, you had a bad day. Let me tell you about mine. Do you ever hear that? Where it's just like they're just waiting instead of listening to yours. They're like, I'm going to tell you about my bad day. So look, no one wins when you had the who had the worst Olympics, right? Instead, try saying something like, wow, that sounds rough. How can I help? It's a small gesture. I know sometimes you're kind of like, all right, you know, there's times when I'm maybe annoyed that somebody did that, but I'm like, all right, they must need to talk about it. So I will. I'll shift my mindset and I'll make a nice gesture of, wow, sounds like a bad day. You want to talk about it. And that tone is very generous and thoughtful. And I think the more we all use that, the better. But I will tell you, that takes me kind of biting my tongue and stop thinking about my day, but allowing them to talk about theirs. And then I thought this was really important for both men and women of the whole leading aspect. Don't be afraid to lead. So guys, one of the biggest compliments that you can give a woman is taking the lead in a thoughtful way. So whether it's planning a date, picking a restaurant, I just had a gentleman do that and I loved it. We were meeting for the first time and I love that he just took the initiative. He gave me some suggestions for restaurants. So he's like, what about this one, or this one? And I was able to pick it. It was really nice. Felt really good to be thought of, especially in a romantic way. with work and such, I think both men and women, we take our chances to lead, or you kind of have these ebb and flows, right? But for me, looking for more of a traditional relationship, I do love when a man takes a lead with certain aspects. And yes, as a woman, I'll take a lead with others as well. So for ladies, I would say leadership isn't just about planning for us, it's about really offering support when we need it. So we can encourage our man if it's in a relationship, helping him lead, notice his effort. And for relationships, leadership isn't always about one person being in charge. It's really kind of stepping up for each other when it really matters. So I can even think like if your friends had a bad day, or, I've got girlfriends, if maybe their dating world isn't going so well and they just need that time to talk, I can take that initiative to lead and say, hey, you want to go get a happy hour? I can listen and just hear you out. That's a nice way to really just lead in the friendship. So let me know some examples that you have there. I'd love to hear them. So, all right, here's what we've covered today. I know I said a lot in a short time, but going back to the small gestures, small gestures aren't just about being polite or thoughtful, they're about connection. They're about connection, purpose, and how we show up for others. And it really, again, starts with you, making sure that you're looking out for yourself, you're feeling good, you're starting your day on the right foot. So, whether you're putting your phone away, if you're out to dinner and you're like, you know what, I'm going to keep my phone in my purse, I'm going to keep my phone in my pants pockets, whether you're offering a genuine compliment or simply stepping up when it matters, those little things are the building blocks of better relationships, deeper connections, and stronger leadership. And remember, if you're wondering what's off limits, it's forgetting to show up for the people who matter most. So let's flip the script and make the little things the big things, because those really are the most important. So thank you for tuning in to Off Limits. Be sure to subscribe, share, and let me know your favorite small gesture. And until next time, sending you lots of love. Bye.